Hello. Now this is the following up from SNB, and I'm hoping that SNB has put up a smokescreen that only a certain amount of people will follow. So going on to distortions, I'm thinking that the main distortion we've got is what is being labelled in the news intergenerational wars, or an intergenerational war, that is between the young and the old, being that the old have the assets which have been boosted by price, by value, due to low interest rates, and have been pushed out of the hands of the young, out of the grasp of the young. They have not now the ability to buy those assets because their wages have been driven down by various things. I'll just read something from The Guardian, and then to help me, if I can remember, I'll try and express where I think this is two different wars. So on one of these normal Millennium War articles, the very top comment is sarcasm by a youngster. Nah, we're all snowflakes. We need to toughen up, and also if we stopped spending money on anything that makes life even remotely enjoyable, after 2 years we might have a saving account with about 700 quid in it, a few less smashed avocado on sardo, and we'll all be homeowners. Ain't that right, boomers? Now, this is representative of one war that's going on. We can call it, I mean, you name it, I don't want, the media war, as in the media are, I'd like to say hyping it up because that's the word that comes to mind, but that's not, they are highlighting it because it's good for hits. It sells newspapers, you could say. In the modern world, it's good for hits. Like this article is, in its own way, promoting the ability of the old and the young to have a go at each other. That is one sort of war that's going on. Now, in the FT yesterday, my very favourite. See, I seem to be now talking to the old website people, because I'm just hoping that everyone else has been left behind, and I think that might be the case. This is why I'm now speaking slower, because I know the website people are more used to that. I've kind of given up on Americans as well, because I think they're just too childish to actually learn anything. I think I was tipped over the edge by the latest obesity figures out from, I think it was the UN, with obesity at 38% in America. They're just childish and can't control themselves. So mentally, I'm just forgetting them. So Sarah O'Connor, and it's a lovely picture in the FT. Now, this dropped out on me twice yesterday when reading it, and I've got it up again today, and I'd also read 2 other FT articles. Now, I'm saying this because FT blocks you quite quickly on the amount of articles you can have free. But I go through people's Twitter accounts, like I follow Sarah O'Connor on Twitter. Now, I've clicked again this morning from her Twitter account, so you might be able to get free articles from Twitter accounts. I don't know. I'll link this article below, and again, the article's obviously good because it's Dear Darling Sarah O'Connor, but it's the comments that we're after. Now, I've did my old, first time I've used it since the website, I've got my little screen cutting thing out, because I can't rely that the article isn't going to drop out again, and I might not be able to get back in, so I was doing some screen capture. Now, I've only done one before I decided to make this video, but I've got the mental recognition that I've kind of expressed the one war that's going on, and that's the media backed, the media pushed war of trying to get them to go nah for entertainment and clicks, and maybe they'll get some money out of it. Now, this one is to kind of remind me of the second one, although it doesn't directly. So this is a comment from the Sarah O'Connor Financial Times article. I believe the severity of the problems that those born in the 1980s and 90s face is underlined by the shifting definition of what constitutes young people. During the financial crash, and certainly up to the financial crash, it usually meant under 24. Then it became under 30. Now it is used to define under 35s, young people. This shows that the term young people no longer denotes age, but a socio-economic situation currently associated with an entire generation. Expect the definition to shift to under 40s before the decade is out. Now, I highlighted that for 2 reasons. One, I think it is probably going to be right, and it highlights the thing that this situation currently associated with an entire generation is a good point. And it is a socio-economic situation. And this is that you'll find out when you read the articles and follow the links, which I might just expand on in YouTube videos. We'll see how we go. That the second war going on is the bank of mum and dad, which is not a newspaper click war. It is a real war being waged by individuals on an individual by individual basis. And I think it's becoming the word would be widespread, but it's getting into the psyche of the old. They are now starting to understand that they are part of the war. And something clicks in a parent or grandparent. I think it's got something to do with life and life having a meaning. That the word delighted comes to mind, but the parents are kind of delighted, grandparents are delighted that there is something really very meaningful that they can do for their children or grandchildren. And they will enter into this with alacrity. They will love to do it. And it's the wave, obviously, it comes in It's been hitting for the last decade, but it's wafting right across the country now. Everybody is getting it. What we had 15 years ago was, 10 years ago, let's say, that the parents and grandparents are, oh, well, my dear, I'm going on a cruise. I mean, and you don't mind, do you? And the kids would go, nah, whatever, it's your money, enjoy it. Not so much now. The families are joining together to fight this war and are enjoying the fight. And obviously what will happen is that the clans that have assets and can leverage those assets and get their next generations up into their asset owning clan, the quicker the better. And that's what's going on. And there are those that can, and there are those that can't, because as you'll find out at the end of one of these articles, is it this article or the end of a comment, it comes down to the old Victorian thing of you've got to choose your parents very carefully. And that's a real war. And the important thing I'm stressing in this video is that the families, the clans, will be delighted to fight it. They're not cruel and nasty and vindictive bastards and bitches, but they are just lovely, cuddly, loving parents and grandparents that want to do something for their darling children and grandchildren. But the upshot is it becomes a war against the people that they are absolutely slaughtering in this distortion. And the more it goes on, the more this lot have to fight, the more they will leverage their assets and their haves, and the more the have-nots will lose. And it'll just accelerate. We're starting to see it now, accelerating away, where, as it says in another of these comments, it really doesn't matter so much now how talented you are at all. What matters in life is whether your parents, grandparents, etc. can leverage their assets for you. You are not likely to win assetless with a big brain against assets with a lesser brain. It is not a meritocracy. It has very quickly slipped into what it was 100 years ago. But the important part is that the slip is like an avalanche. It will very, very quickly accelerate and take on an awful lot more weight and completely run away with itself. And what is politics to do with this? As in, what can politics do about this? It has got to get elected. How is it going to get elected to do something about this? It has to appeal to one side or the other to get elected and then do something to stop this. How is this to happen? Bye.